Welcome all to the weekly outlook. Boone here from EWPRO. Getting straight into the weekly outlook, starting with the DXY on the daily. So there's two scenarios here on the DXY. We got an A, B, C, and we go up and break the top, or like I've shown for the last few weeks now, an A, B, C in here, and we get an A, B, C before we get a larger A, B, C down. Last week on the H4, we had that bull hidden, so I said we've got to be very careful. We've got that bull hidden in here. So ideally this does go up, breaks the top and starts to give even more bearish divergence, and then, you know, if we get a nice impulse down and a correction, we can sell for this flat to go and break the low. Other than that, we really need to wait for this to be over if you're looking for the buy, and wait for the larger correction, and then look for the buy. So it will depend on what we get next week. Yeah, so this is more on a lower time frame, but if you're looking for the buy, you'd be looking for a WXY. You'd be waiting for the X2 and then a Z up on the lower time frame, more than likely on the M15. And then if you got that nice impulse down, and a sell setup, well, then you could look for the sell. AU on the daily. Nothing's really changed on this on the daily. You know, we're looking at that A, B, C, possibly down to this 100 pip before we get the larger A, B, C. Again, on the daily, I'm only looking for the buys. I'm looking for this impulse up here to get on that. Looking very bearish in here. That's the problem. So more than likely we'll get another one down. We did have that bearish hidden in here last week, so we sort of got that WXY, looking for an X2 and then a Z down. We get that Z down, nice impulse up, well, then you can start to look for the buy for that daily C up. Again, you know, you're going to have to be careful if you're selling this. You're selling at the low of the market on the daily, so I'm only interested in the buys, really. You know, if you're looking for the sell, you're just scalping, just to break the low. EG on the daily. Again, this hasn't really changed much on the daily either. We're looking for that A, B, C down to this 100 pip, and then we're looking for an A, B, C, possibly up to that 100 pip. So again, I'm looking for that buy. I'm more interested in just looking for the buys than scalping sells at this stage. This one had the bear hidden as well, like I mentioned last week. You know, we got the bear hidden in here, so more than likely this will go and break the low. Then we get even more bullish divergence, and then if we get the impulse up, well, then we can trade that flat, the daily flat. Until we get that, it's really only scalping and selling. I mean, you'd have to go down onto the lower time frames again, but you're getting some sort of a WXY. You'd have to wait for an X2, and then you could sell that Z down, and then I'd be looking for the buy for the flat. If we got the setup for the buy for the flat, well, I'd be looking to jump on that. GU on the daily. This one's a lot more difficult. We got that A, B, C. We bounced clean off that trend line. We got all this bearish divergence, but the problem is this is very slow coming down here. So it looks more bullish. I thought I'd change this. I'll quickly do this. So you can see we can possibly be getting a flat in here for the A, B, C down to this 100 pip. I drew the 100 pip last week, but I mustn't have put the count on. So, yeah, sort of got an ugly looking setup there, but yeah, I dare say we just get an A, B, C, and then we may get more upside. This stage, I'd be looking for the sell down to the 100 fib. So if you're looking for the buys, you know, I'd be buying EU, and if you're looking for the sells, well, I'd be selling GU. Again, this is on the lower time frames. We've probably got some sort of an A, B, C in here for like W, X, Y. You'd have to wait for that X2 and then a Z down. If you're going to sell, you really need to wait for that X2. And you on the daily. So we're looking at that A, B, C. So again, you know, I'm more interested in getting in this larger impulse to the upside. It's not really, I mean, this one did break the low here and we got that bullish divergence. So that was fine. It didn't give a very nice impulse up. It's only a buy. We have that bullish divergence on the H4, so it's, you know, you can really only buy it. On the H1, it's very messy. You know, extremely messy. But if we get a buy set up, I mean, we do have a bull hidden in here. So if we get a bullish setup in there, we can look to buy it. It's more bearish. That's the problem, because this here looks very corrective, you know. There's no real nice impulse, so it possibly can come down and break that low. And it's not really giving a buy setup. This is more of a sell, you know. We've got all that bearish divergence. And we got a lower low here, and this is looking corrective. So if you wanted to scalp it, you could probably scalp it. Just be very careful if you're scalping the shorts, that's all. Like I said, I'm more interested in the buys, but you know, you can scalp the shorts if you're inclined to do that. GU on the daily. So I'm looking at that WXY, possibly still in that wave Y. Look for the X2 and then a Z up. This may be some sort of an A, B, C here as the flat, and then we get that WXY, X2, the Z up. So again, I'm more bearish than anything. H4, we had that bull hidden. We had that bull hidden in here. So we had to be very careful. It didn't go up and break the top. Just didn't go up and break the top, but it was very deep. It was very deep to this. So it probably got to around the 78.690 pip. Now it's more of a sell as an A, B, and we get that C down, and then we may get another one up. So if we get a sell in here, you could look for it. You'd have to wait for a correction in here. You may get some sort of an A, B, C in here, and then like an A, B, C, or a WXY, X2, a Z up, some sort of a corrective structure. If we get some sort of corrective structure in here, and then a sell setup, well, then we can look for the sell for that larger A, B, C. You know, UY on the daily. Nothing's really changed on this on the daily either. We're looking for that A, B, C possibly up to that 100 pip. I mean, there is a scenario that I haven't been sharing on YouTube, that this top here does get broken, but on YouTube, I'm just looking for that correction. So I'm more bearish. See, this may be the flat here, and we get a WXY. This is an expanding triangle for the X2, and then we get a Z up. Or a flat, you know. Sort of got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 to finish off the correction, and then we get that another one up in here. So, you know, you'd be scalping if you're buying this, but you can buy it. You know, you wait for a correction on the lower time frames. Wait for some sort of correction, and then you look for the buy. If you get the buy set up, well, you jump in it to go and break the top. The CAD on the daily. This is, I mean, I'll just draw this arrow. We were looking for this to complete the time factor in the X2. It's done that. So this can go up to the targets, this 123.6 and the 161.8 for the wave Z. Or the second scenario is this is a flat here, A, B, C, and we get like an A, B, C finishing off the move, and then it gives us that Z up. But we have that time factor, so we're only looking for buys. We're looking for the buys in here. And if it goes, well, you know, they're our targets. I believe it has broken this top here now. I'll just remove that arrow. No, it hasn't quite broken this top, unfortunately. It hasn't broken that top there yet. If I just zoom in, we have a bull hidden on this one as well, you know, so more than likely that will go and break the top. I thought I had the count on this on the H4. I mustn't have, but we had that really long drawn out correction in here, so it was very difficult to get in. Then we're looking at this possible A, B, C here as the flat, similar size correction as this one, and then we get that W, X, Y, X2, and we get that Z up. We do have that bull hidden, so I'll be very surprised if this doesn't at least go and break that top. To get in this now, I mean, we will start to get bearish divergence, like when this goes and breaks the top. We'll probably get some sort of bearish divergence in here. On the H1, you know, there is a bear hidden here, but this is bear hidden here. But I dare say on the lower time frames, I'd be more interested in the buy for the scalp at this stage on this time frame. If you got a correction in here early on Monday, Tuesday next week, well, then you could look for, you know, the buy. It's the Swissy on the daily. Excuse me. So I'm looking at that A, B, C, and again, like I said last week, this can be more complex as an A, B, C, and then we get an A, B, C as the larger flat, and then we get an A, B, C, very similar to EU. So we've got to be very careful with buying this. This is very slow in here, very choppy. So, I mean, there is no bear hidden, but yeah, it's looking rather bearish. But again, this may have been a larger correction. We got the 5 down, you know, WXY, X2, the Z down, we got all that bullish divergence. We had a nice correction. This is where you, nice impulse, sorry, and a correction. This is where we wanted to get into buy. It's been very slow, but this may be if I just change this may be the flat here, and we get like an A, B, and we get the C up, or it may turn motive, and it's just been a very slow start. That's definitely possible too. This one is giving a setup. You may have missed it. I mean, I got in on it Friday, but if you got a little correction in here, Monday or Tuesday, you could look to buy that for the A, B, at least an A, B, C. It may turn motive on you. I dare say it possibly can, because we've had that larger correction, and we're looking for that 100 pip. Looking to take profit half off at that 100 pip, and it may turn motive, maybe WXY, and get up to that 161.8, give you an X2, and then give you the Z up. So it may turn motive. I'm hoping it does, because I'm in the trade. But it may just be ABC up. EG on the daily. Looking at that, like A, B, C. I hadn't got down to this 100 pip yet. And we sort of got this like WXY, X2, and a Z down in here, and we have all that bullish divergence. So I'm more interested in buying this. Very risky to be selling. But in saying that, on the lower time frames, we may be getting a flat here by the look of it, because we got like 1, 2, 3 here. So we get 1, 2, 3 up as the flat, may turn into a similar size to this over here, and then you get a sell set up to sell, and it may get down to that 100 pip for the wave 5, like WXY, X2, and a Z down, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however you count it. So yeah, you will have to be careful. It is a buy at this stage. We don't have a bear hidden here. We don't have a bear hidden divergence here. So I really have to go down onto the lower time frames to see what's going on. It looks more bearish, actually. Yeah, it does, because we've got, if we look at that as the flat there, the WABC, and we have that bearish divergence, it's a very ugly looking impulse down. But yeah, if you're buying, you may be buying into a correction here, so you will have to be very careful, because I dare say it's more downside by the look of this. But yeah, if you're scalping the sells, you're just scalping just to break the lows. The larger impulse will be to the upside when we get this. It's only a matter of time before this ends, and we get at least a 50 pip retracement of that. So the larger impulse will be to the upside. WTI. So doesn't matter how we look at it. Like I got it as a WXY, X2, and that Z down, and we got this large A, B, C in here, like I've shown many times. We got that, and we got all that bullish divergence. So we're looking for a buy, at least 50 fib of that move. So we're looking at around this level here. This is more of a H4 trade. We got that this WXY. Looking for that X2 down to that 38.2. It got down there and it shot off. I was sort of hoping it would give a correction in here and then another one down to fill in that time factor. It never did. And it's just taken off. We had that bull hidden there. So to get in this now, you know, you're really going down onto the lower time frames. Like you're looking at some sort of a WXY. You really need to wait for an X2 similar size correction to this over here, and then you could look for the buy. Until we get a correction, it's very risky to be buying. You could trade flags and that, but yeah, the safest way is to wait for a correction. Once you get a correction and a structure, corrective structure that you know, well, then you can start to load up on the buys. But yeah, until we get that correction, it becomes risky, in my opinion. Gold. This is very interesting as well. I was looking at this A, B, C here. We didn't get down to that 100 pip. We're starting to break this trend line here now. The problem here is we have that bear hidden, like I mentioned last week. We have that bear hidden. So we got some sort of WXY, X2, and we can get a Z down still. There's nothing to say that this won't go and break that low. For the buy, you'd really want to go and break this top here, and then give you a correction, and then you could look for the buy safely. Other than that, it's more of a sell with that bear hidden, looking for that bear hidden. H1, we got all the bearish divergence. I mean, you'd have to go down onto the lower time frames again, but to get in this. But if we got some sort of, this looks like an A, B, C in here, we may get some sort of a flat in there, and you get an A, B, C, or WXY, X2, and a Z up. Some sort of a correction in here. If we get some sort of a correction in here, well, then you can at least sell for an A, B, C, and a may fall over for the larger correction. For that bear hidden. So that would be how I'd be trying to get into it. You'd really need to go down onto the lower time frames to get in on this at the moment. Silver. This is very difficult as well because if I just go over it all again, we got those 5 up. Got that WXY, X2, Z up. We had that bull hidden there. We were looking for that, and we got it. We lost the bearish divergence. That was the problem. Lost the bearish divergence between the two tops. So I was just looking for a correction in here, and then another one up, another 5 up, and I still am. You know, but the correction in here is becoming more complex. You know, we got impulse. This is rather impulsive, and this is rather impulsive. So what I'd be looking at is a possible correction in here, and it may be quite deep, and we get 3 up in here. So we get 1, 2, 3 up in here. Then we get an A, B, C up in here as a flat. And then we get an A, B, C to finish off the correction. And then we get the larger A, B, C before we get more upside, possibly another 5 up. So again, this can become very complex. At this stage, I would be staying out of it, you know, because you're really only scalping. You're scalping in a large correction. So you have to be very experienced and mindful of what you're doing, because you're trading in this large correction. Like we're still, you know, ideally, I was looking for an A, B, C as a regular flat to just go and break that top, but it hasn't done that. So at this stage, it's a contracting flat. So extremely difficult to trade, and that's why I'm sort of looking at it as we may get a correction in here. If we get a correction in here, then you can trade this one up for the A, B, C, like I said, and then we get 3 up breaking the top. Then we get an A, B, C as some sort of a larger flat, and then the A, B, C, like I showed. So it's really going to be, you're just scalping, and you really need to know structures to be able to scalp these sort of things, especially on at this stage. I mean, it's really a sell at this stage. If you got a little sell in here on the lower time frames where you could look for a sell, it's really only scalping. Bitcoin, this is interesting. So we've completed that structure like I've been looking at for a very long time. Ever since we got this A, B, C in here, I've been looking for the running flat. That turned into an expanding flat. And that's complete now. We got that extended 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up with the bearish divergence. So I'm looking for this low here, this red line here, to get broken. In here on the H4, like I said last week, we had that big impulse up in here, and people would be tempted to buy this. And like I said last week, you're really only scalping. We've got a chainsaw outside, so I'm just going to pause it here, and I'll come back when the chainsaw's stopped. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you live in the bush. There's people with chainsaws. Getting back to this Bitcoin. So we've got that WXY. Got an X2 here, and we'll get this Z down here. Like I said last week, you have to be very careful buying. I said you can buy in here. It'll probably be deep, and we get some sort of a correction in here. I'm looking for a correction to sell. Now we have like 1, 2, 3 up. So we can sell into this. You'd have to wait for the correction. You'd be waiting for a correction. If I just 61.8. So you'd be waiting for a correction. It looks like you're getting a little buy in here. If you're buying this, you have to be very careful because it can be just corrective. If we get a correction in here, well, then you can look for at least A, B, C for that wave Z down on the H4. This wave Z, we'll be looking at like a WXY, X2, and this Z down in here. I can draw that fib, the target for that fib. So these would be your targets here, that 123.6 and the 161.8. So yeah, wait for the correction. If you get a nice correction and a sell setup, well, you can sell. I'd take half off at the 123.6 and take the second half off at the 161.8. And then more than likely we'll get a larger correction, and then you can sell into after the correction. S&P 500. Looking at that WXY. I'll be looking for an X2 and a Z up. This, we didn't get down to that 38.2 here. So I was sort of looking for a larger correction in here. Like I showed last week, I was sort of looking for like an A, B, C in here as a flat, and then we get an A, B, C before we get the larger A, B, C, filling in this time factor. The only way you can really get into this buying is we need an impulse down here as some sort of a flat. More than likely it'll be a running flat. you got the running flat and then a buy set up on the lower time frames, well, then you could look to trade at least a C up for the A, B, C. And then if you got the sell set up, well, you could sell, to go and break this low. So you're mainly scalping on this. I mean, this may go up and break the top, but I would be looking for the flat. We don't have that time factor here yet to really load up on the buys. Yeah. AU 200. This has become more complex as well. I was looking for this A, B, C, then an A, B, C. This has started to go up though in here. So either way, I would still be looking at all this as a B wave, and then we get that A, B, C before we get the larger A, B, C up to the 100 fib. Looking at the lower time frames, it's going to be very difficult because we have a bear hidden here. We have that bear hidden. So if you're looking to buy this on the lower time frames, it may just come up, break that top, and then fall over on you, and you wonder what's going on. Well, the bear hidden just played out, and it went and broke the low, or this low here. So yeah, you will have to be careful for the buy. Ideally for the buy, we get a nice impulse up, breaking that top, and then a correction, and then we can, then we can safely load up on the buy. At this stage, I mean, you can buy this in here, but it's looking very corrective. But if you are buying this, it looks like some sort of WXY X2. You probably get a Z down in here, and then if you got the breakout, a buy setup, well, then you could look for the buy. Ideally, you'd want to be a break even at the break of this top, because like I said, if the bear hidden plays out, we just get an A, B, C, just breaking the top, and it falls over. It gives you a sell setup, and the bear hidden plays out, breaking the low. So yeah, it's more for the experienced trader, this one at this stage, because it's quite complex, and it's just very similar to the FTSE. I'm starting, I was looking at that A, B, C. We started to get that C up, but really looking for a regular flat to go and break that top, and then give us an A, B, C before we get more upside. The problem here is this is more of a flat. This may be the A, B, C in here for the flat, and then we get the A, B, C. So now we can get that like A, B, C as the larger regular flat. So if I just put that on this to give us some sort of a target, so I would be looking for the buy, and I'd be looking at this as the flat. Oh, move that. But again, this is very similar to AU 200. We got a bear hidden here. So again, you're going to have to be very careful. We got that bear hidden. So this can just be an A, give us a B and a C up, just breaking that top, and then fall over on you. Giving you that WXY X2 and a Z down. So again, ideally get a nice impulse up, breaking that top there, get us a correction, and then we can load up for that wave C, and the targets are that 100 fib. You'd be targeting that 100 fib. The DAX on the daily, this is really looking at that A, choppy wave B, and we get this very choppy wave C as well. We got all that bearish divergence, so only been looking for shorts for a very long time on this. We didn't break that low, unfortunately, so makes it difficult. This may be an A, B, C in here before we get an A, B, C, which may turn motive. Yeah, it's not really nice. This can become more complex because we got this as more impulsive. I mean, if this is an A, B, C in here, and we get an A, B, C as a expanding flat, well, that makes sense. And then we get an A, B, C in here for a W, X, Y, X2, and then we get a Z up. We don't have the bullish hidden in this one. But yeah, it may play out. I mean, on the lower time frames, we need to wait. You need to wait for an impulse up if you're looking for the buy. You need something to buy, and it's more bearish at this stage. You know, we may get some sort of W, X, Y, X2, and a Z down in here to finish off this flat A, B, C before we get the buy set up to buy. So you just have to be very patient to get onto the right trade. So I hope you enjoyed the weekly outlook. If you did, please help the channel out, like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you out there next week.